Hello and welcome to Frost Over the World. This week, the general election campaign officially got underway in the United States. Today, a former aide to President Bill Clinton and a very perceptive commentator as well will give us her take on what's going to happen. Former diplomat Rory Stewart tells us all about his year of occupation in Iraq. The former US Undersecretary of Defense, Douglas Feith, described by Donald Rumsfeld as brilliant, will join us, and we'll ask what next for Nepal as the king is deposed. And we'll be speaking to this man.
Up every morning with the sun, I work all day till the evening comes. Listers and...
Yes, the one and only Mick Hucknall, simply read. But first, after a prolonged campaign, Barack Obama has finally won the Democratic nomination to run for President of the United States. How will he stand up to the intensity of a presidential campaign? And what now for Hilary Clinton? Will she, as she once gave as an option, stay at home and bake cookies? Unlikely, we think. But one person who'll give us an insight into all of that is Laura Schwartz, former Special Assistant to President Bill Clinton, and now a regular here, correspondent, keeping up to date with the United States here on Frost Over the World. And what a good week to have you here in London. Straight away, what do you think Hilary should do? She's going to give a speech tomorrow?
She's giving a speech tomorrow amid supporters. They want to make that crowd as big as possible because it's just going to be Hillary on the stage. Barack Obama and Hillary actually met last night, a secret meeting. They averted the press. Nobody knew it was going on until after it happened. And Barack Obama is going to be home in Chicago this weekend, allowing her to take that stage one last time.
And what should she say, and what will she say?
Well, tomorrow is the ideal opportunity for her to get all of her supporters. I mean, Hillary Clinton may not have won the nomination, but over 17 million people turned out at the polls for her. Those are 17 million people that Barack Obama wants to have turn out for him in November. And the Democratic Party, when you look beyond just the candidates, they are the faces of and fighting for the Democratic Party. So tomorrow, Hillary's got to let all of her supporters know she is squarely behind Barack Obama. She wants her supporters to get out there, knock on doors, hand out literature, make the phone calls to get people out for him in the fall.
And in terms of her own activity, I mean, will she be in the speech still aiming open to the idea of a vice presidential role?
Well, I don't think she'll say that out loud. No. She said that on a conference call this week with some members of her New York delegation. And of course, nothing is safe in conference calls. It was all over the news. She is open to taking the vice presidential nomination if asked and if it would help the party. Whether or not that will happen really will be decided in the next month or so. Many people say that she could drag down that ticket, that perhaps she is not the change or the new Democrat that Barack Obama has been and that he's selling himself as. So there's a lot of pros and cons, but she can be just as helpful, campaigning for him like no other, and again, reaching out to that voter base of white women, blue-collar workers, the middle-class folks, and those senior citizens that turned out for her to make sure they still turn out for Barack Obama.
Do you think they really get on? I mean, we don't know. We weren't there. We weren't there at that meeting last night.
We can.
And obviously, people are going to put a gloss on it afterwards. But do you think they like each other?
I think they do like each other. I think that they respect each other. I think that's something we saw throughout the debates. As heated as it got, they were addressing the same issues in very similar ways, by the way. And I believe that both of them put party above themselves. And for that reason, they're going to make sure they get on for the rest of this campaign.
And what about the money? What about the money that Hillary owes?
Hillary may be in debt.
Is Barack Obama going to stump it up? Or?
I can imagine. I can see Barack Obama working with Hillary at fundraisers that specifically are aimed to pay down her debt. She's about $11 million in debt of her own money that she gave to the campaign, perhaps as much as $20 million or a little higher overall. I think it'd be tough for Barack Obama to say, hey, I'll just pay you all that money that my supporters, he's raised over $272 million. But these are from folks that are giving $10 here, $50 there, and that was given for Barack Obama. So I think that if he helps Hillary pay down her debt, that would come from joint appearances with Hillary and for the sole purpose of paying down her debt, not just a blank check.
And if Hillary is not the vice president, some people say Bill Richardson's got a chance because of the Spanish vote.
Well, he is the first Latino governor of the United States of America. The western area of the U.S., because he's the governor of New Mexico, as you said, and New Mexico, Colorado, those are some states in the West that are in play. The Democrats could get their votes in a general election. Until now, it's been a Republican stronghold.
And it really is there's a genuine choice here. I mean, it's not like some of those elections where they overlap, but when you're looking at the things to do with the economy and taxes and all of those areas, there's a genuine choice here, isn't there?
There is, and the economy has been painted as the #1 issue. The economy, the subprime housing problem, Iraq is still on the front page, but it really comes down to who is going to alleviate the pain on the middle class and the working class. The Bush administration has put tax cuts into place. The problem is that they've been beneficial to the top 1% of the country. Now, John McCain wants to move forward with that vision and stay the course with President Bush, still giving those tax cuts to the top 1%. Barack Obama said, listen, I want to roll back that 1%. I want to give tax cuts to the middle class and to the working class so that they can have incentive, and especially, like around the world, our food prices are rising. Housing prices are rising. So let's get some of that money back to the people, let them put that back in the economy, and use that to pull us out of what is really almost a recession.
And what about, yes, almost a recession. And what about, in fact, when you met Barack Obama, what impression did he make on you?
He has a genuine interest in people. And I say genuine because at all of these events, whether I'm observing him or I'm talking with him, he wants to know your story. He just doesn't want to know the sound piece or just the nugget. He wants to know, what is your story? What made you who you are? What made you be in this predicament that you are in, whether that's without health care or a low-paying job or a laid-off worker. And I think that he wants to know the story because then he can approach it better as a president. And this is, I live in Chicago, and Chicagoans know Barack Obama, and this is something you hear consistently across the board.
And so, in a way, the vulnerabilities, in a way, are it's age versus inexperience as the negatives, isn't it? Age in the case of McCain, and in the case of Obama, inexperience. Is he ready to run the biggest job in the world?
Well, that has been an argument against Barack Obama from the beginning, and he certainly has handled it well over the last 15 months. His line, and your viewers should watch for that, he will say, well, I may not have the most experience, but let's talk about my experience, community organizer. And also the fact that he had the judgment. John McCain has been in Washington 27 years, but his experience led him to vote for President Bush to have the authorization to go to war. Barack Obama was adamantly against the war and consistently against the war in Iraq from the get-go. So he will say experience versus judgment. And John McCain, on the age issue, we did a poll with the Wall Street Journal a few months ago, and about 71% of America said that they're ready for a black president. So the race question. And then only about 60% said that they were ready for someone as old as John McCain. So it will be interesting to see how those two factors play out. But the general narration, I think, of Barack Obama will be his judgment. And John McCain will speak with his experience. But again, that's been inside Washington and sort of closed off from the rest of the American people. And right now, that's what Americans are sick of. They want to get them back to the people.
Fantastic. And our message here is Laura Schwartz for Vice President.
We'll see if well, you're the only one at this point.
We'll see you again soon, I hope.
Thank you.
We'll take a break. Coming up next, we'll look at the future for Nepal without a monarchy. That's after this short break.